What's up, Cleveland? How about them Brownies, huh? Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Let's go. I said, here we go again. It's the Cleveland Browns and it's 1st and 10. So get on your feet and let the games begin. 'Cause here we go again.
Welcome to the Dawg Pound Pressbox. We're rolling this week. It is week 18 of the NFL season. Tommy?
And we're sitting starters.
Greggy, have we ever been in a position like this as Browns fans? Where you're going into the last week of the season and you don't care about the outcome? I mean, we have,
No, yeah,
but
like-
usually it's like you're 3-13.
Yeah,
I
but-
don't give a shit.
Yeah, we kind of discussed that in text that one day. I said, when's the last time you got to the last game of the season and didn't have to worry about it?
Yeah.
But I said, of course, obviously, when you're not getting in, you don't have to worry about it. So just everything sucks. But I can't remember the last time that we were in the last game of the season going to the playoffs and didn't need to win this game to go to the playoffs. Like, we're done. It's locked. We're in.
It's crazy. It's unreal. I've never been in this position as a Browns fan. It feels weird, too, because this season has just been so weird. I mean, think about this. Where have we been? But let's go down the journey, down like the rabbit hole of the 2023 season that is the Cleveland Browns. Sitting at 11-5 here going into week 18. And think about what this team's gone through to this point, all right? You've lost. Let me just list the people that are on injured reserve at this point, all right? Jakeem Grant, Jack Conklin, Nick Chubb, Nicholas Jamal Chubb, yep, gone. The heartbeat and soul of this team. Deshaun Watson, Jed Wills, DeJuan Jones, Grant Delpit, Rodney McLeod, and now you got Dorian Thompson-Robinson on injured reserve. All of those guys are done for the season. Done. Grant Delpit, there's a minor, small chance that he might come back for the postseason, but the rest of those guys are done for the year. And you've got other guys who are still banged up, and everybody's, I mean, week 18 of the NFL season, everybody's banged up at this point, but you got guys that could potentially be coming back, and the Browns are in a weird spot. You're going to have a 16-day layoff between games for some of these dudes because they're not going to play a lot of they're sitting a lot of starters this weekend.
Yeah, what a stark contrast, as you kind of talked about. This season's been a roller coaster of emotions, kind of a little bit cliche, but just the hurdles. You know, I seen the meme where it was like, oh, it was comparing a Bengals fan. It was like, oh, if we had Joe Burrow, we'd be in the playoffs. And it's like, bro, we did it with 4 different quarterbacks this season.
About to be 5.
And this year I came in with the pretense that, hey, this is a potential Super Bowl caliber team. And then we fast forward to Heinz Field at my brother's barbecue outside. And the Nicholas Chubb injury happens. And at which point you're almost kind of half writing off the season because there goes your balanced attack.
You know, a lot of Browns fans did at that point. You're 2 games into the season, and I think every Browns fan that I know was like, well, we're done now. That's it. You can throw in the towel on the season.
So you go with that, and then you start these little rumors and these little birds are whispering that, hey, Deshaun Watson might not be at 100% of what we all think. And then by the time it becomes apparent that, yeah, he might be banged up, I'm sitting in club seats against division rival, that expansion-ass team, the Ratbirds, the Baltimore Ravens.
Ugh.
I'm sitting club seats watching that game. And
That was a great game to be at.
Yeah, you know, the Browns were 7-1 at home this year. Guess who was at 1? So I watched Dorian Thompson-Robinson make his professional debut, and it again didn't really pan out the way he had hoped.
Man.
Because that's what the Browns were kind of counting on, was this late rounder, this young guy that has a lot of potential. Maybe if for whatever reason Deshaun Watson isn't able to live up to contract or isn't able to play because he's injured, we start this young guy. We try to find that, that go-to, that second option. And the Browns just really never had it. You had the XFL hero, P.J. Walker, get signed. And that kind of excited me a little bit. I was like, here's a guy that is not afraid to gun it. And
here's a guy.
Now here's a guy. He's not afraid to sling the ball. He's not afraid to take chances and make plays. Problem is, he couldn't make plays. He had a lot of teams.
Man.
Go ahead.
I
was just going to say, I'm the kind of guy who can barely remember what he had for breakfast. I just kind of live in the moment. I don't think too much about the past. But I've been sitting here going over this season in my mind, and I think, all right, yeah, we edged one out against the Ratbirds at their house. That was awesome. And then I think back to that loss, and I'm like, man, they spanked us pretty good. I don't like the way that feels.
Yeah.
But you just now reminded me of what that game situation actually was. I forgot that DTR was in that game, that they took advantage of somebody who was not ready for that moment against the Ravens defense.
Think about that. He got thrust into the starting spot an hour and a half before the game.
Yeah, and I completely forgot that was the situation of that game. I just look at the score, looking back.
And I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of games at First Energy Stadiums, and definitely a lot more L's than wins. And again, we kind of attributed that at one point, Greg, to just buying cheap tickets when they were on the tank run to where, again, you're going to see some ugly losses, or you're going to see some hopeful, close, underdog victories. But this year was different. You had expectations, you had standards.
Right.
And when I watched that game unravel in front of me against elite, as I was going to talk about, in the offseason, nobody wanted Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's true.
These general managers, again, I'll sing those praises too, or I'll sing those sling those arrows. Those GMs need to be fired.
Well, and think about the Panthers, what they gave up for Bryce Young. I mean, and they could have had Lamar Jackson.
And now you're throwing drinks on Jaguar fans.
I mean,
and it's so ridiculous to me that there's that many people that are that daft that they think it's actually a tall or a big ask for Lamar Jackson to ask to get paid, considering who they are paying in the league. That don't, you know what I mean? Like, Lamar Jackson, the only strike against him is his performance in the postseason.
Yeah.
And now this guy's been paid.
Well,
they backed the Brinks truck up to him, even though nobody wanted him. So now he's got to play up and live up and kind of show it in everyone's face, which he did that in First Energy Stadium against the Browns. And I was convinced, I was like, yeah, there's no getting over that hump.
Yeah.
Until they did. And they went into Baltimore and came back, and the Browns. That's why I don't understand why there's such this like, oh, you guys are in a fever dream, especially with Joe Flacco as your quarterback. We've already beaten who there is to beat. Who else beat San Francisco and the Ravens this season?
That's true. That's very true.
And
there's only one team in the NFL that's beat both of the top seeds going into the playoffs.
Jacksonville?
No, I don't think that's what it is.
I think they sit on the lake. You know what I mean?
They just so happen to also be the only team to ever qualify for the postseason with 4 different starting quarterbacks.
Well, hell, like you just said a minute ago, by the time this record is written, it'll actually be 5.
Yes.
They'll be able to say that we're the only team that's ever made it into the playoffs with 5 starting quarterbacks.
And can we talk about that for just a second with Driscoll? Now, do you guys really think that, okay, obviously they wanted to sit Flacco and they needed a backup because DTR's on injured reserve. So they needed to bring in somebody, but the move to bring in Driscoll and start him over PJ Walker.
It's smart.
Okay, it is smart.
I'm calling it smart because Walker is your backup through the playoffs. So if
But
you start him against Cincinnati...
Does this give Driscoll the chance to win the job?
I mean, anything's possible when you're in the backup. Number 2 position's up for a fight, dog.
PJ Walker's been like up and down from practice squad all year. He doesn't have a real contract. So he could be tossed away just as easily as any other practice squad player. They're giving Driscoll a shot. For one, I think because Kevin Stefanski has a big ego and he wants to say he got it with 5 quarterbacks. But 2, I think they're giving him a chance to win that backup job because he's more similar style to Flacco.
Well, I
So
think
he wouldn't have to change the offense too much.
And that's and to your point, Nate, you hit the nail on the head. Again, I talked earlier about PJ Walker, what his strengths were. Wasn't afraid to take those chances. Wasn't afraid to air it out to the talented receiver core. And what Kevin Stefanski and that staff seen was like, hey, you got a guy that's sitting on the couch right now that's a veteran quarterback that can do those things that you're asking about. And to their surprise, and to everybody's surprise, the Darth Vader turn back to Anakin, Joe Flacco coming over to. I don't know.
I love CJ Mosley coming up to him after the Jets game. Be like, can you believe these motherfuckers saying your name? You got these dudes saying your name, chanting your name.
He said, whoever would have thought Cleveland would be chanting your fucking name.
Here's the cruel twist of fate and all
That's
this.
awesome.
Is that I seen that one stat that kind of made me sick to my stomach where it's like, Joe Flacco, 12-2 at Cleveland Browns or something like that. I was like, yeah, but in another jersey and a Jets jersey.
Yep.
And,
And now a Browns jersey.
And now a Browns jersey.
Yeah, I think he's got two as a Browns quarterback in Cleveland Stadium.
At least old Big Ben would never have that.
But that cruel twist of fate that I was saying is you watch that moment where this guy is living in the moment. He's ready to go out. He in a league that really never gave this guy his just due. You're talking about Super Bowl MVP, a guy who's consistently made the playoffs with the Baltimore Ravens, and just kind of was, when Lamar Jackson was drafted, just kind of tossed away like the baby with the bathwater in a way. And he kind of floated in some systems that didn't suit him. So again, you kind of cast it off to the Misfit Island, and what better place to land than the island of misfit toys than wash up on the shores of Lake Erie and become a Cleveland Brown.
Now let me ask you guys this. There was some reports about how Flacco and them had reached out to the Vikings. When Cousin went down, they reached out to them, and I guess they weren't interested really or something. Now do you
think they're regretting that now?
I think everybody.
Now here's the thing, though. I will say this: every Browns fan out there, every Browns fan that I know, most of them were so pissed at the Browns when Josh Dobbs had those 2 games where he went off.
Oh yeah, they
Everybody,
thought,
oh my God, Josh Dobbs would be really nice right now, wouldn't he? It was right after Deshaun went down,
and
everybody's all mad about them not having Josh Dobbs on the roster.
And that's who they went out and got over picking up Flacco. That's what makes it even funnier now at the end of the day. But what I was gonna say is you got to think to yourself, if you're Joe Flacco and you're sitting at home, and you reach out to the Vikings, whatever, you probably don't reach out to the Browns. Maybe just because it's the Browns. There's a
Browns are the Browns.
Yeah,
the Browns are the Browns.
There's something that looms over the Browns. You don't take them seriously as a contending team, right?
Yeah.
But Flacco goes there, he works out, meets everybody, and you see him on game days now. Tell me that you don't think that possibly he wasn't really that interested in Cleveland because it's Cleveland. And then he got there and saw that this ain't Cleveland. This is a different culture now. And
sure.
He's vibing with this team and realizes that this is a Super Bowl caliber team.
And I thought
going to the Vikings would be a run, but this is the run.
Exactly. The last time he went on a run for a Super Bowl championship, he had a number 1 defense.
The number 1 defense is so
He had an outstanding offensive line blocking for him in front. He had a running game that could take some pressure off, and he had receivers that he could get the ball downfield to. You think about that, and that's kind of what he's got right now. You think about what he had. Who was he throwing the ball to? Anquan Bolden, right? Towards the end of his. I mean, think about Amari Cooper. It's not towards the end of his career, but Amari's been in the league for 7 years now. I mean,
and congrats to him for
265 yards, 2 tutties, knocking Josh Gordon's name out of the record books. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, with Joe Flacco, for better or for worse, the one thing is he's playing in his element as he was before.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because you sent me that clip of the comedian, Stavros?
Oh, Stavy.
He's a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan. So his take on it, and hearing it from AFC rivals, where they're like, it's like what I see with Joe Flacco, I'm loving because it's like, hey, you go out there, throw 3 touchdowns or throw 3 picks. It's inevitable. And in the same breath, you watch Joe Flacco go out there and almost put himself in the same hole that but in these winning scenarios, these comeback scenarios, to where it's a cardiac kids 2.0 in a way. Greg, you want to pull up that graphic about Joe Flacco and his performance?
I mean,
over the past 4 games, we talk about the statistics, we talk about numbers. They don't lie. The law of the probability, you're talking 4 straight games with 300 passing yards. You still have a lot of football left to get to the dance. And you're telling it all relies on this guy being able to do those things, because you essentially don't have a running game. You don't have the balanced enough attack, but you're going to have to rely on him to minimize turnovers and also be able to continue 300 plus yard performances.
His strong point is play action. All right. And if you know anything about Kevin Stefanski's offense, what is the strong point of that offense? It's the play action. It's built to set up the pass through play action. You want to try to run the ball. Even if you're not getting success running the ball, you give the look that you're going to try to run the ball. Teams have stacked the box over the last 4 weeks trying to stop this team from being able to run the ball. And they've been successful. But look what's happened over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, you got to sell out to be successful.
Exactly. You got 300. You're giving up 300 plus in the air over the last 4 weeks. Oh, great. You stopped the run. But the Browns are on a 4-game winning streak right now thanks to this. And it's the match between Stefanski and Flacco that really, to me, is kind of setting them over the top. They match up perfectly. The offense that Stefanski runs is an offense that Flacco was familiar with based on his time with Gary Kubiak when he was with Baltimore with him in that same kind of Kubiak system. So the terminology was not anything that he had to take a long time to pick up. You think about it. The week that they picked him up, they put him right in. They put him in as a starting quarterback. What did he do? I mean, that Rams game was the first game that he came in. And I mean, his numbers were okay, but almost 300 yards, a couple of touchdowns, pick.
Well,
but he showed you enough to where Stefanski the next week put so much faith in him that he said, you know what, let's sling it. Let's sling the pill.
Well, and I was going to say, and that's the thing is you look at the only downside to say to Flacco is like, hey, he can throw some interceptions, man. He can throw some interceptions. But show me a gunslinger cowboy quarterback that throws the damn ball like that doesn't throw interceptions. Like, I mean, look at one of Tommy's favorites, old Brett Favre. Like, Brett Favre could sling that rock like no other, but man, did he throw interceptions too. That's why you pair a guy like that with the number 1 defense.
And I do think
that's right.
And I think in this AFC, in this playoff picture, especially with the quarterbacks like, if the Jaguars are able to go and you got guys like Trevor Lawrence and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, these guys, you're going to have to almost throw these 300
you got to be able to match up.
games.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I'm strapped in for this ride with Joe Flacco. He's already been doing it for 4 games straight. It's like, this guy is either just going to, it's one of those like literal, he's going to leave it on the field and it's going to be one of those like runs that
it's like,
I hate this like this wishy-washy, this fickle feeling you feel.
Don't you have this feeling like, okay, this is fun. I love it. As a Browns fan, I love it. But it just feels like, okay, all right, when are we going to turn into a pumpkin? You know?
No,
like,
you know
what I
when's
mean?
the
Like, you
clock
got it in the
strike
back
midnight?
of your head as a Browns fan. I hate that feeling. I hate it. I want to shake it. I don't like it.
well, I'd like to say that I already had that feeling, and I'd like to think
had
it's
it
past
twice
us.
this year.
Yeah, I
But-
want to say it's past us.
But
After Chubb went down and after Watson went down, both times, you can ask my buddy.
Like, when
I'll
we
tell you-
lost to the Broncos, I was
Yeah.
feeling real bad.
and that
The Broncos, the Rams
Just because
lost
we were
even?
we
Man.
were sliding at that point, and we the record wasn't looking good, and you're like, what's the end of the season gonna be? Then Savior Joseph comes in, Joseph Flacco comes in.
Joseph Flacco.
you can tell though when the Browns are off to a slow start or the tempo is being set by the other team. The Browns historically don't do well in those situations.
Yeah.
And when you talk about that, like that fickle feeling you have when that doom and gloom feeling, the one thing that kind of alleviates all that pill you take is watching that defense come out on the field.
Oh my God, yes.
There is nothing that I have
think
enjoyed more than on like a Sunday, watching Jim Schwartz's defense go to work and
beautiful.
seeing them create these situations where the offense come out with field position. They're able to get into manageable situations where, hey, we don't have to execute 11 or 12 plays per drive to be able to get down in scoring position or be able to score touchdowns. We just need to be able to convert from the short field that the defense allows us after those 3 and outs, those short stops, and keeping the defense fresh. That's what's really those games where the Browns defense are kind of just drudging and the offense comes out, does their 3 and out, and then the defense is forced back in those situations. It's night and day. When that defense can rest, and when those defense gets stopped, when they come back in, they're still just as amped. They're just as hyped. The secondary of the Browns getting healthy right at the right time too has just been.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say to that point, Tommy.
I love it.
We talk about the interceptions and stuff, and I was gonna say in today's NFL, there's a lot of smart defenses that are able to disguise a lot of things, and they're gonna get interceptions. You're gonna throw interceptions. It's gonna happen. The difference is this year we have one of those defenses.
Yeah.
We haven't had that in the past. We're out there, and all the smart defenses they outplay us. They get the interception. They make a move on the ball, and then we can't do nothing to stop them. Not this year. Like, that's the difference. You throw an interception, it's not the end of the world.
For sure.
Isn't it always funny though too? Is when 95, when Myles Garrett goes quiet, and there becomes a situational down, and it's like 3rd and 4, and it's like you gotta get the defense off the field, and then you're like, "Where's Myles been? I haven't seen." It always, I love like.
And
the,
see, it
pairing with
hasn't
him and
always
Desarius,
been like that though.
But the
Throughout
pairing with
his career-
Desarius Smith now.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Him
And Dalvin Tomlinson, the interior of that defensive line being able to rotate some of those guys that they do to keep everybody fresh. with Okoronkwo, and then you talk about Zadarius Smith has been key for that defensive line. Obviously, it frees up things for Myles on the other side, but being able to keep everybody fresh, I think, is the key. And that's why this defense is drawing comparisons to that Philadelphia 2017 team that went to the Super Bowl and won it. I've already heard multiple analysts compare this team to that 2017 Eagles team. Think about that.
Just
Quarterback
imagine-
goes down, backup comes in, Nick Foles, they ride that magical ride. They go with the underdog mentality. They put the dog head on, and all of a sudden they ride all the way to the Super Bowl. And
imagine being on that.
Yeah, but that was in the NFC at that time.
I'm just saying, though.
I mean,
Look at the AFC this year, Tommy.
Look at the
my boy
AFC.
Mahomes.
Kansas City is what are they? 10-5?
They're good
10-6 right now.
They're the best 10-5 team you ever seen though.
Buffalo's
Shouldn't have had that
10-6.
popcorn.
No.
Buffalo's pretty damn good too. I'm just saying,
I
there's
think
good
it's-
teams that don't have good records this year, and they've lost bad games.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Good teams have lost some bad games.
Dolphins
this year.
just against the Ravens.
Shit the bed.
What?
That game was terrible. Terrible. I was like, all right, man, we still got a chance for the #1 seed, fellas. All we have to do is go out and see these Dolphins hang 50 on the Ravens. It'll be no problem. Then you got like, boom, 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 boom.
Who else did they lose to that was like a shit stain? They lost a really bad game earlier in the year that was like, man, I can't
the
believe you
Dolphins?
guys lost that bad.
Didn't they
Oh,
lose
to
to,
the
like,
Bills. They
I was
lost like
gonna say-
48-20 earlier.
And the Bills
And that
weren't
was
even
right
hot
after
then.
they beat the Dolphins like 70-, they beat the Broncos 70-20.
Yeah, that's why it was such a disappointment, because they came off riding high off that unbelievable 70-point game, and then the Bills were like, shut up.
And then the Eagles smacked them around before the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles have fallen off too. Some of these good teams.
Didn't they lose to the Cardinals this week?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of these good teams have really kind of unraveled down the stretch.
It's all right, though. They won their
Because
Super
they're
Bowl.
not winning the games outside their shit conferences.
And I will say this, Baltimore's peaking at kind of the wrong time.
I think so.
I think they have peaked.
They're playing a damn.
I think they have peaked. I think they have reached the pinnacle of who they can be. And I'm not sure if they're going to be the same team with a weaker rest. You think about it. They're resting their starters this week. Then they're going to have a bye week. Some of those players ain't going to play for 20 days, Tommy. Well, how would you, if you're a football player and you had 20 days off, You gonna attack that first game back?
It makes you wonder. It's like, how many days off is too many days off?
That's what I'm saying.
I feel that about week 18 right now.
I'm thinking the same thing with the Browns. Like
you're riding the end of the lightning bolt right now.
As a Browns fan, you're almost like, do you want him to kind of play maybe a half just to get the, maybe get the wheels turning a little bit,
I don't
keep
know,
everything in
fucking
motion?
Uncle Gumpy Stefanski made it seem like
come
they
on
weren't.
now.
But look what happens
You saw that, bro.
happens in games when you weren't able to close out. You've lost some guys to injury.
Yeah.
Because you've kept them in too long.
Well, and
I
then
mean,
you see Bradley Chubb going down with that ACL.
There was
and
no
they
reason
were
for
down
him.
by 30 at that point. It's like, why did they have him in the game? So, yeah, I don't want to see Miles out there. There are certain guys that I don't want to see. I mean, it would be nice to see Miles for maybe a quarter, so get in there, maybe get a sack or two, increase those Defensive Player of the Year odds, because right now he's leading. He's the leading candidate for Defensive Player of the Year in Vegas.
Isn't this such a double-edged sword this week of like, hey, we don't have to worry about winning this game, yay! But also like, man, I wish we kind of did. So
yeah, we do. Yeah, they really should worry about winning this game.
But
The
you said
Dolphins
you
were
want-
really the ones that kind of like screwed the pooch on that because you wanted to be vying for a chance to.
And now they might not even win their division after being so dominant all season against opponents.
If the Bills beat them,
They win the
they're
division.
in and they win the division.
God,
and Miami's a
the
wild card.
Bills have a
Now,
horseshoe
listen,
up their ass.
Here's the thing, though. If the Bills lose, if the Dolphins win, and it's a home game, so the Dolphins are really good at home. If the Dolphins beat the Bills might even not make it into the playoffs. They could be on the outside looking in, hoping for help.
Now the overtime coin flip don't sound too bad, does it, Josh Allen?
Greggy, you had playoff scenarios
That's
pulled
what I
up
was-
earlier.
that's
You
what
can
I'm
pull those.
looking at.
Yeah, that would
I'm
be
trying to
great
look
to
here.
kind of go over some of those
Let's
because
see.
we got a really. I mean, this week 18 this slate of games.
Like,
obviously, there's some duds.
The fun
But-
is the scenarios, but at the same time, a lot can happen in week 18, and there's so many times that like even the Cleveland Browns decent season. You think of the Romeo Crennel season.
Yeah.
That hinged on the Indianapolis Colts, I think,
Yeah.
beating the Jacksonville Jaguars for that wild card spot that year. We were 10-6 that year,
Jim Sorgi.
and they sat
Jim Sorgi.
the Colts sat Peyton Manning and the other starters to keep them fresh for that run,
And it screwed us.
We got
I'll never forget that dude's name.
we
Jim
got screwed out.
Sorgi.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that if the Bills do not win,
With Jim Sorgi.
He was the Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback for that game. That's the guy they started over
Oh,
Peyton. That's why I'll never forget his name because we were hoping he was going to be the savior. And it was like, nope, he just is some guy
yeah,
that
we're
should have
like,
never been
"Come
starting
on, buddy."
an NFL football game.
you can be good too, right?
No.
All right,
He
so
was Blaine Gabbert.
So if you want to talk about Buffalo's playoff scenario here, they get the AFC East, obviously, if they win. Mm-hmm. It says that Buffalo will clinch a playoff berth with a tie or Pittsburgh loss or tie or Jacksonville loss or tie or Houston and Indianapolis tie.
So the
So
Bills
if they lose, I think they're out.
So the Bills could
Well, if the Bills
but the Bills
lose-
could lose.
And then the Steelers lose, they're in.
Yeah. So and the
If
Steelers
the
play
Bills
the
lose and the Jags lose, they're in.
So if
The Steelers
the,
play
so
the
if the
Ravens?
Bills and the Dolphins tie, the Dolphins would win the division, but the Bills would still make it in.
Okay.
Because that's what the first scenario says is Buffalo tie.
who
Weird.
does Pittsburgh play?
Pittsburgh plays Baltimore.
That's what I said. I thought they played Baltimore.
But they
this week.
play Baltimore's backups. You think
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley's playing? They're not playing any of their starters. OBJ's not playing. Some of the other guys. Zay Flowers isn't playing, I don't think. So
All right, you want
Are
to know
they
their
going to give
scenarios?
Dalvin Cook reps though?
I doubt it. They just signed him. It's Friday. Like they just literally
Friday.
signed him earlier. Like I don't think they're gonna sign it.
You ain't got no job.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you ain't got no job. It's Friday. What do you think about the Pro Bowl voting?
Who gives a shit anymore?
I don't give a shit about the actual game.
Why
but
does
the
it matter,
guys
though?
that get voted to go there, it means that they had a good season. It means that they're one of the best at their position. That's why I care about it. That's the only thing I care about ever as a Browns fan.
Is that what
I don't give a
it-
shit about the game or the festivities.
No. That's not what I'm kind of getting at. Is that what like? I don't know. Maybe I always kind of
'Cause you-
felt different about it because I always kind of felt it as you got honored to be able to go and play in this game, and despite you're not going to get to play for a Super Bowl, you got voted to play this Pro Bowl game, and you were recognized for your achievements, and then you play with all the other great players in this like ceremonious game of, hey, it's kind of, there was times when it started, like, as the years went on, and guys were like, well, shit, I got 20 million riding on this. I ain't gonna go out there and play full speed at,
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, thanks for the acknowledgement, but it's a different world. It's just the contracts are crazier. It's just, I don't know how to describe that. Because to me, that's what the Pro Bowl was. And forgive me if I was wrong or always misinterpreted it, but to me, the Pro Bowl was, got recognized. You were the best tight end in the AFC. So you get to play in this prestigious game that matched up all the best in the NFL against each other. Whether it was a work or not, I don't know. That kind of what it
just
became
make it after
to
the
where
Super Bowl?
now it's a flag football.
What'd you say, Greggy?
Why don't they just put it after the Super Bowl?
I've always said that. I loved it. And here's the thing. I think the players liked it a lot better after the Super Bowl, too. Because if you win a Super Bowl, you walk in there like cock of the roost.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying, ain't nobody touching you if you win the Super Bowl.
It's like, not only am I the best tight end in the AFC, I'm the best damn tight end in the NFL. The Super Bowl ring, look at this.
Now, because they have it in between, the Browns players aren't even going to be able to play in the Pro Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Good. Love you, Joe Thomas. Sorry you couldn't be there. We always get to watch you in the Pro Bowl, but I kind of
Sign
the
Joe
joke who I
Thomas.
want to see him
Sign
on.
Joe Thomas.
I want to see him in the wild card.
Sign him to 1 year or 1 week
Oh,
contract.
shut up, Greggy.
1 week contract.
He's like 230 pounds now.
he can play tight end.
I don't want him to play. I just want him to get a goddamn ring.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I want a ring for Joe. He's on the broadcast team somehow, isn't he? Like he's part of the broadcast crew.
He's like, I thought
he would get a ring anyway.
I thought he was on their away crew.
Yeah, so he'd get a ring anyway. Anybody that's part of the team that's like getting paid by the Browns, you get a ring. So, they had 5 Pro Bowlers and then 6 alternates were selected as well.
But yeah, it's still,
Hold on a minute. Hold on.
To me, it's still a big deal. Like I said, not shitting on the Pro
I mean,
Bowl.
this is the first time in my in the history as a Browns fan. What are you laughing about, Greggy?
How mad would you be if you worked your ass off all season to win the Super Bowl and fucking Greg Kinn, the janitor, gets a fucking Super Bowl ring?
I wouldn't be mad. Listen, you get all year, you walk into the facility and he keeps that place clean.
Yeah, and picking up shit.
Everybody's got a job.
Picking up shit stained Under Armour
That's
shorts.
what I'm saying.
and-
Like,
just
think
assume
about
it-
all the nasty ass shit he's got to grab out of that locker room at the end of the night.
You're just assuming that he's good at his job. He could be a third string janitor.
Oh, come on now. You got the PJ Walker of janitors
I was
now.
like,
the practice
Mike
squad
Kittner.
janitor.
The Bernie Kosar. He's got a ring.
Hey, you guys got my ring? Good. You didn't even show up for work last week.
So the only reason I even care is because you can say things like, all right, this is Joel Bitonio's 6th straight Pro Bowl.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing that it's not.
It should almost
a
be like an
tremendous honor.
honors
It's
instead.
just like we all know it's just not what it was.
It sucks. It just sucks now. Like, I'm not a fan of it at all. I tried watching it last year, and I like, what are they even doing? And they're trying to push this. It's an Olympic sport now. Flag football is going to be an Olympic sport. Can you believe that? Yeah.
I mean, they got a game where you take a wire brush to some ice and move a
Listen,
big piece of metal. If
I-
that's an Olympic sport, then I guess anything.
if I want to watch flag football, I'll go down to the YMCA on a Saturday morning in the fall.
A lot more competitive.
I'm gonna get heat with the curling fans.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
The Canadian contingent. You know, I heard you talking about.
Hey,
Heard you talking about.
not the. You started with a Bret Hart. I can tell.
You know, Goldberg, he was just one of the worst wrestlers that he should be in the Hall of Shame, not the Hall of Fame.
Shame.
You know, Goldberg, he's just one of the worst curlers I've ever seen. He got
So you got this Bengals game. You got a lot of players that are sitting out. Obviously, Miles isn't playing. Well,
Bro.
Stefanski pretty much came out and said, I doubt he's going to play. Highly doubt he's going to play.
Yeah, they said highly unlikely that he would play at all.
Flacco's out. Amari Cooper's out. A bunch of other guys are out. They're not. Joel Bitonio's not going to play. I don't think Wyatt Teller's playing.
This team is limping into the postseason.
Hold on a minute.
Well, you haven't had a bye. You had a week. What, 5? Wasn't it week 5 bye? So. That's hard, man. There ain't many teams in the NFL that play 12 straight weeks and then go into the postseason rolling like this team is. There are guys that are veterans that need this time to rest.
If we're speaking on this Bengals game real quick, how many fans do you think at the start of the season thought that we would be in opposite spots right now?
Hold on a minute. Let me clear something up for you.
I will say right now, every pundit, every analyst, every commentator on ESPN picked this Browns team to be dead last and picked that Bengals team to be first and going to the Super Bowl. Every one of them. If Joe Burrow was still there.
No.
Who would have thought that this game didn't matter when it came to Week 18, but in a good way for us? And
It's because you guys have your ear to the ground up here in Northeast Ohio on the Cleveland Browns and what we've been doing. They don't have the same media attention. They don't have the same coverage as some of the perennials have been, as now everyone's like, oh, look out for the Browns. Like, no, we've been here. The Bengals have been a placeholder for an unhealthy, for a team with some scrutiny around it. The Browns clearing up this Deshaun Watson situations, getting him to actually be able to play and be able to try to live up to that contract. In my opinion, those 22, 21 campaigns, the Bengals, Super Bowl, AFC championships, anything like that, those were just byproducts of being a placeholder for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, I will say this. If you look through the history of the two teams since Cincinnati's been a franchise, the Bengals have actually had more postseason success than the Browns.
Absolutely.
They've had 2 trips to the Super Bowl. They've had, was it 3? I thought they've only had 2. Two. They had played against the 49ers.
They lost last year in the AFC Championship.
That's so crazy because you know what I care about is we have the same number of Super Bowl wins, so they can go themselves.
Whoa! This is a family-oriented program.
Throw the dog a bone. Gosh.
We can edit this.
I think anytime that the big words used, Greggy's got to show himself trying to rap some Bone Thugs and Harmony.
No, I think every time Greggy says...
Busy Bone.
Every time Greggy says, go f*** yourself, he needs to show himself going...
Hey,
But yeah, I mean, I know those are just sour grapes.
oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
That's just how That's how I kind of thought about it, because you just kind of bite your bottom lip and you're like, man, that could have been us. That could have been this. If all the cards fell right, then this season going into it, you're just like, oh, all the cards, everything's coming together.
Like, tell me when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl just a couple years back that it would not have chapped your ass so bad if they would have won one before us.
You're talking,
I thought they were going to.
Allow it.
I thought they were going to.
I know, but history wouldn't allow it.
You're right. You're right, Tommy.
Dude, there's no possible way that Ohio can have a Super Bowl win, a Lombardi trophy, and it not be in Cleveland before Cincinnati.
Don't give me all of my,
that is a strong
Don't give me all my feelings.
What do you mean?
Now.
That's a strong statement.
We created the AFC North out of impotence and management.
Every team in the AFC North can say that the Browns had some kind of a hand in their creation, whether it's the Steelers with the logo, because the Browns created the Steelers logo pretty much with the Steelworkers Union.
And game Chuck Noll.
And then Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher, both Browns byproducts. Hey,
Both
you're
Browns
welcome.
linebackers.
Go ahead.
Coach.
Absolutely, you're welcome. And the Bengals created as a byproduct of Art Modell firing Paul Brown.
Incompetence and managerial impotence.
And then, once again, Art Modell's incompetence and impotence created the Baltimore Ravens. So every AFC North team can thank the Browns in some way for their creation.
And that's what I said. I think a lot of those are
a man whose own city gave him a football team.
We have our Lombardi trophy in Baltimore right now. We have our, we had our Super Bowl run taken by our kitty cat team friends down
I
south.
will say that year 2000, when they won that in 2000, that was probably one of the most heart-wrenching Super Bowls to watch. As a Browns fan,
Oh, yeah.
because it was the second year they had been back.
It may be some crybaby sour grapes as a Browns fan to be like, that was our team.
But
that was our
that
Super Bowl.
really
but
was.
But
I don't
I
care.
don't even want to talk
It
about
was.
it because it just,
I know there were only a few players left from the Browns when they won that Super Bowl.
But
you
that
don't
whole
understand,
organization was built
they
off of us.
took the Browns' blueprints for the
That
next
draft
5
board.
years to build that Super Bowl contending team that they had.
so maybe not all the players were there, but those players would have been in orange
Yeah,
and
you're
brown.
throwing
Ray Lewis, Jonathan Ogden, both were scouted by Bill Belichick's scouting
I was gonna say, you
department.
think Ozzie Newsome scouted them?
Hell no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Ozzie Newsome took his little green notebook just like the guy from
Like the water boy.
just like Coach Klein.
I'm gonna need you. I'm gonna need you to hand me over that notebook.
Coach, what's his name?
Bo
Coach
Red, Bo Red U, or something like that.
That's essentially what Ozzie Newsome did
Yeah.
with that draft board.
Well,
He's like, oh, yeah, I like that notebook. I'll take that with
They
me.
want me
Thanks.
to. They want me
Hey,
to
see you
take
later,
over.
Bill.
They want me to take over there in Baltimore, and they need me to show them that I can come up with some good plays and some good draft boards. So,
But these
Bill,
are
I'm
my
gonna
draft.
need to see.
These are my draft boards.
You're gonna give me those draft boards.
No, Grandma, we didn't get the Super Bowl.
No, Grandma.
I hate 'em.
No, Grandma. They did take the team. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
But yeah, enough of all the crybaby ass stuff. It's like
Crybaby ass.
it's like here we are in the season of
Destiny, baby.
destiny that we really had put on paper as, hey, we're gonna ride this with Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson, despite what's happened, the hurdles and everything, the 4 quarterback changes, all of that. This defense has showed up, showed out, and have got us to the point where, again, we're talking about like taking an AFC former rival quarterback and trying to ride him to another Super Bowl run on another stout defense. And it very well could show up as a division championship game against your rival, and that's why I don't even want to talk about it, because if it got to that point and it didn't go the way.
Well, and here's the thing too.
No.
On top of that, every team that we would have to face on the way there is looking to the target's on our back. They want to end
Let's
this little
continue
dream
with those
season.
scenarios. I want to hear more
So
about
here's
that.
another scenario. I want to run this by you guys for just a second, because here's what I was thinking about.
I get like
Now,
worked up. Just
think
thinking
about
it.
this, okay? What if, say, the Bills beat the Dolphins? Dolphins are in as a wild card team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they are the 6th seed underneath the Browns, okay? Say the Bills go in, or say the Dolphins go in and beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, all right? Because the Chiefs right now are the 3 seed. And the Ravens would then, okay, so say the 4 seed, gets beat by the 7 seed, or no, I'm sorry, the 2 seed gets beat by the 7 seed, all right? So who's your 2 seed right now in the AFC? Is it the Chiefs? I'm pretty sure it is. Isn't
The
it
2
Chiefs?
seed in the AFC right now
Or the Dolphins.
is the Chiefs. Yes,
Chiefs.
Okay.
10-6 AFC West Division champs.
No, so the Dolphins are actually the 2 seed right now, okay? So, because they're 11-5.
Well, this has the Dolphins as 4 on this, but maybe that's just the way they listed them.
I don't know why they would.
it's wrong. Never mind. This goes by who's
Exactly.
clinched already.
Okay, so say the 7 seed beats the 2 seed, the 6 seed beats the 3 seed, and then the Browns, say all the wild card teams win. The Browns are hosting a playoff game. Do you know that?
Shut up.
The Browns are hosting a divisional playoff
That would
game.
be the first time that it's ever happened in that stadium.
If all the wild card teams win, which is a complete possibility.
We've never
You think
hosted
about
a
all the
playoff
division
game.
winners right now, all right? You're talking about a team possible. If Miami wins, it's going to be hard for a team to go to Miami and win, but it's not July. It's not like September. It's not like October in Miami when it's like 90 degrees on the field,
When
100
the heat's
degrees on the
working
sideline.
against you.
You're talking about January in Miami. Like, it's not that bad. It's
Yeah.
like 70, 80 degrees outside. It's not that bad.
It's normal for most other teams.
Exactly. So it's not like they have a distinct home field advantage like they usually do during the early part of the season. All right. So that's a possibility if Miami is one of the division winners. Kansas City has proven this year they are not invincible at Arrowhead. They've been beaten multiple times at Arrowhead.
Raiders.
Exactly. And then the Jags, if they end up winning, end up winning the division, they're beatable in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
So every one of those teams, if they end up losing, the Ravens would play the lower seed, the 7 seed, and then Browns would then play the 6 seed at home.
Which is why I said I don't understand why there's such a disillusion of why it's impossible for the Browns to be able to do. It's like
and that would set up Browns Ravens if they both win for the AFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, isn't that a crazy? Like, I watched the video the other day.
I couldn't live in that world. I couldn't live in that world.
Can you imagine the week leading up to that game?
I don't want to.
Can you just imagine how
can't.
hype everybody would be and how nervous the entire city of Cleveland would be?
Because, and that's the thing is, it's
Everybody.
like the best Ravens team since that last Flacco run.
And
It
then
really is. I mean,
Baltimore would be on edge because you got Flacco playing against you in the AFC Championship game with that Browns defense backing him up. I mean, and then at that point, the Browns would have won 2 playoff games in a row.
Is in that last game against
I love making
against
these
the Ravens
hypothetical situations
and
up.
MTI
It's fun.
Stadium. The thing is that they had made so many countless mistakes.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to get out of the gate offensively. You're just like, okay, here we go again. And then the offense finally started to roll and get some drives going. And that's really all you need, especially when you have that type of defense. And then
The
if you're
defense
able
gets
to
stops, offense produces points. Defense gets another stop, offense produces points. Because you think about it, at the point when they start coming back in that Ravens game in Baltimore, all right, when Watson started going on that tear, it was when Njoku caught that pass and he started running over dudes. And he ran for like about an extra 10 yards after the initial contact.
Was that the angry runs
Carried
run?
Yeah, the angry run by David Njoku. That is really when everything started for this team. It started to steamroll. They were down 31-17 when that happened. 31-17 in the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes to play.
God, I love a good big slap. Swag. Those Ravens thought they put us away at that
They
point.
did. They thought it was over. They had some backups in the game at that point. Fourth quarter lead, double-digit lead. Yeah, you're thinking it's over.
Swag.
Oh, this team has shown they can come back from multiple different scenarios. The only thing that concerns me at this point is if a team starts out with like a 14-0 or 21-0 lead, because this team really, they're not built for that kind of a comeback. But
They slowly take the momentum.
if they can answer shots early in the game, they'll hang with anybody. This team can hang with anybody.
Yeah, I always love when the Browns come down and they're able to put points on the board on their opening drive. And because historically, you always watch the defense. It's like they got to get settled in defensively because they're like, all right, the Browns allowed to touch. See, the scenario always was when we lose these games in these situations pretty bad is normally they would always have a long, drawn-out possession before the half with a one possession lead already. And then they go and they turn points into that. And then they come out of the half and then the other team has the ball. And then suddenly the Browns suffocate and they always find themselves behind the 8 ball. That hasn't been the scenario this season because the defense able to get stops, give more opportunities to the offense to come out there and try to put points on the board and finish off drives. That's the one drastic comparison that I think Stefanski in this resume, I don't even know if he cares, but in this resume of him solidifying himself as a franchise coach, you've seen it. Proof's in the pudding now.
Yeah.
And I really do believe Kevin Stefanski, now that he's finally getting the reins a little bit from Barry and the Haslams, is really starting to become his.
You're seeing this team become his identity.
Yeah.
You know, they're forming themselves into what he envisioned this team to be when he took over in 2020. And
Because it's also he's finally got his guys.
He's earned himself an extension at this point. You know, I think they were already having that conversation when this team was 7-4. Coming out of that Baltimore game, I think he really earned himself into that conversation. When a lot of people were saying, you know, after the Baltimore game, I think is when they lost to the Broncos and then the Rams. And everybody was like, the sky's falling. Oh my God, the sky's falling.
I was chicken
Or
little.
after the Steelers game, that's what it was. Because it was the Steelers game after the Ravens. And then that Rams, and then the Broncos and then the Rams game really, I think even me as a Browns fan, after that Rams game, I was like, man, this is just, what is going on with this team? Like, how are they? And I was starting to blame Stefanski for play calling. I started talking about how he wasn't running the ball, and how they weren't effective in the run game, and
Run the ball, Kevin.
they were abandoning the run. And then you start to look at the statistics, and you look at how it's playing out. He abandoned the run because they couldn't run the ball. Like, they weren't able to stretch the field with the run game. They couldn't get to the outside. They can't stretch their run game to the perimeter. The only run, the runs that are successful with this team you watch are in between the tackles. That's because that's where their strength is. The interior of this offensive line is one of the best in the league. But those two tackles now, you're playing with 4th and 5th string tackles. So they don't have a whole lot of outside, like, they can't stretch. They can't pull
rid of the ball.
Yeah, they really have to get, their running backs have to get to the line fast in order to be effective. And you've seen the draw plays, the extended plays that are run plays, they haven't been working these last 4 or 5 weeks because teams are stacking the box. And I think, realistically, I really do think a lot of teams did not expect Joe Flacco to be able to beat them because they were daring him to beat them. Over the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, you can't tell me every team that they've played so far over the last 5 weeks since he's been the quarterback hasn't been daring him to throw the football.
Yeah, and they haven't respected the...
Not one bit.
Yeah, they haven't respected that, and Joe has made... Flacco's made some tremendous throws into windows and pockets that only a veteran can really deliver to where, again,
and that's
he's
what
going
makes
out
me
there
nervous.
and he's...
That's what makes me nervous as a Browns fan because it feels like defenses haven't respected this passing attack to this point. There's not a playoff team that's not going to every playoff team that the Browns face is going to have respect for that passing game. They're going to come prepared to shut down that passing game. And my question is that run game going to be able to pick up the load if Joe Flacco has a pedestrian game?
If you can,
you know, what happens if he goes 19 for 45 and has like under 200 yards?
Yeah, that's the thing, though. If you can pick up that run game, you can survive some of these AFC shootouts you're going to get yourself into in these passing games where you're going to have to air it out. You're going to have to answer back. You're going to have to really get stops and not allow these games to turn into shootouts because, as you said, historically, Joe Flacco puts the ball into situations where, again, he kind of digs himself into a grave and then he slowly crawls his way out. And I think that just comes with not so much age, but just the experience. He's able to execute what the coach wants. I think that's what's been lacking in that Cleveland quarterback room is just somebody able to go out there and take Kevin Stefanski's system and be able to actually execute and do what the coach is asking and get the ball into the hands of some talented receivers. NFC scenarios, nobody can shut that.
Is that what we were talking about? Is that NFC? All right. So there's how in the hell do the Vikings still have a chance to get in? They're 7-9.
All right, what's
the Packers got a chance too?
Okay, so
and
yeah, sorry, I would just scroll down.
See, the NFC is a joke this year.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Okay, so we'll start at the top of the NFC here. So yeah.
So you're already in for the NFC. Already in. The Eagles, the Rams are already in. Okay, the Cowboys, the Lions, and the 49ers already in. Now, so that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots already locked up. Okay, so there's only 2 spots left. And the Cowboys still have a chance.
God, Atlanta can clinch the NFC
clinch
South.
their division. Because Dallas plays Washington.
So they have to win and Tampa Bay has to lose?
Yeah, for Atlanta to get in.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so Atlanta, 7-9. They need to win and they need Tampa Bay to lose. Who does Tampa Bay play?
Don't matter. They got Bake Show, baby.
Woo!
He's got playoff experience. He
listed here?
leading right now.
Moxie.
Jeez.
They play
love
Carolina.
Oh, well, that's, I mean, come on. 2-14, they should win that game. I'll tell you what, if Baker loses that game, he doesn't deserve an extension.
Yeah, no more money for you.
Yeah. So
I can't believe the Cowboys are sitting at 11-5 and still they're not clinched in a playoff spot.
So as far as I'm concerned, the Cowboys and Who's the other? Tampa Bay. Those are the last two remaining spots. The Cowboys and the Buccaneers are probably in. How does Green Bay get in?
Yeah, because they beat. They had just won, and they had to have. What was it?
Green Bay gets in with a win.
They win. If they win, they get in because they got to beat Chicago.
Okay.
Because they had just beat the Vikings.
Okay,
And
so
that was their ticket.
How does that make any sense? We just said it was 5 teams.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense because this is showing that if Tampa Bay wins, Dallas wins, and Green Bay wins, that's all they all need to get in.
Yeah, so go back to the top of the playoff scenarios again.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I feel like the Rams haven't clinched, but maybe they have.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Because there's only 7 spots.
Yeah, it's like, how could they have clinched? They're then. Yeah, I don't understand.
Okay, so it has the Cowboys listed up there.
Oh, duh.
Yeah,
They're already
the
in.
West.
So the Cowboys are in and the Eagles are already
So then
in.
why are they even listed here?
It doesn't make any because they're still vying for the division title. That's why.
Oh, that's okay. It's not
'Cause if
not,
Philly
it's not to get a
loses-
playoff berth. They're saying that they can still win the title.
Yeah,
the
because
division
if
title.
Philly loses
Okay.
and Dallas wins, Dallas is the NFC East champ. I think they're the 2 seed at that point.
So there's still 3 seats left, right?
Yes,
So-
3 seeds open.
So if Green Bay wins, they're in.
They're in.
Tampa Bay wins, they're in.
Yep, those are the 2 winning in.
And then
Minnesota, they need some things to happen, right?
so the Vikings need to win, and then Green Bay needs to lose, Seattle needs to lose, and Tampa Bay needs to lose. Or Minnesota win, Green Bay lose, Seattle lose, and New Orleans lose. So they need Green Bay to lose, Seattle to lose, and then either the Saints or the Bucks to lose, and them to win to get in.
Okay.
Which isn't crazy,
Yeah.
but it's you need 3 things. So.
Yeah, that's a lot. You're
Yeah, the
asking a lot.
Vikings, they don't deserve to be there.
The Saints can get in with a win and a Tampa Bay loss
Or tie.
or tie. I hate ties. I think it's just so stupid. They could also get in with a tie and a Tampa Bay loss. So if they tie,
That just confused me so bad. I was like, no tie.
so if Tampa Bay loses, New Orleans can either win or tie. Yeah, no tie.
Oh my god. Yeah, bro. That was going right over my head. Like I was like, I don't understand. What does that mean? No tie's a win, right?
And even if they don't win the division, they can still get in. So even if Tampa Bay wins, they still have a scenario where they could get in if Seattle loses and Green Bay loses.
Oh yeah, this is the playoff here. So yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So
And that's it for the NFC, right? Nobody else can get in.
no,
New
there's more.
Orleans?
Well,
Well, the Eagles can still clinch
Eagles,
if
the
they
Seahawks.
win. Seahawks. Okay, Seahawks are still in it.
they have to win and Green Bay has to lose or
Okay.
tie. Or they need to tie plus Green Bay loses and Tampa Bay loses, or the same with New Orleans.
So everybody in Seattle is going to be rooting for Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Tampa Bay just needs to win.
Is there a scenario where the Bears can get in? I thought they were eliminated.
Yeah, I don't see one.
Yeah, I didn't
they-
see them up there.
But they play Green Bay on Sunday.
Okay. So they got something to play for. I mean, dude, when's the last time the Bears beat Green Bay? I can't even remember. I think it's been like, aren't they like 2-14 in the last 16 games or something?
Ask their owner,
Poor Bears
Aaron
fans.
Rodgers.
Oh,
Did you see that go back and forth between Mostert and Aaron Rodgers, where he came up and he like gave him a playful shove after the game? Mostert's like, "Hey man, what the heck?" And he's like, "Still mad at you from a couple years ago because he dropped those 4 touchdowns in the 2019 NFC Championship." And Rodgers just straight up was like, "I'm still mad at you from a couple years ago." I'm like, God, that dude is he's just like, I don't know. He's like when you would go over to your buddy's house and he had a big brother. Mm-hmm. And the big brother would like just be like a dick to you.
And he would remember everything you ever did that was messed up or any mistake you ever made. Just throw it in your face.
So Nate, you still pissing your pants or what? Dude, I was like 6.
You still pissing on trampolines?
Wow, bro.
Oh.
I'm trying to find the last time the Bears beat the Packers, and
It's been a while.
I'm already in 2020 and not finding it
It's
yet.
been a while.
2018.
2018.
December 16th, 2018. They won 24-17.
5 years? That's crazy.
That win streak.
Crazy.
That win streak starting kindergarten.
And they lost. And they lost to the Packers earlier that season, 24-23 by 1 point.
oh,
Jeez.
gosh.
That's crazy. 2018.
Poor Bears fans.
Poor Bears.
Poor Bears.
Poor Bears.
So who do you think you're going to play? Who do you think you're going to match up with? You got Jacksonville, you got Houston, you got Indianapolis. If Jacksonville wins, they got the division. Then you go into Jacksonville for week 1 of the playoffs. Obviously, I like the Browns' chances.
All right.
But if
But you're
Houston wins...
Playing Trevor Lawrence Jaguars, though.
If Houston wins, Jacksonville loses, Houston's the division winner, then you're going to Houston.
Houston.
If Indianapolis beats Houston and Jacksonville loses, you're going to Indianapolis. If they go to Indianapolis, I might make that road trip. I'm just saying, like, I might just travel over there, go to some tailgate party in a Browns backers club in Indianapolis. I bet there is definitely a Browns backers club in Indianapolis.
There's one everywhere.
With Trevor Lawrence, I really feel like the Colts is almost like your biggest trap game in that scenario.
Yeah, just because, here's why. Because, who is it, Steichen is their head coach? He knows that defense.
Yeah, you've seen it.
We've seen it this year.
Yeah.
They put up 38 on us. I mean, that, and it was like at ease. Gardner Minshew looked like a friggin' Pro Bowler. Like, it was ugly at sometimes. It was like, man, are they ever going to stop this team? And
yeah, it was.
And Indy would be healthy. You got Jonathan Taylor coming back.
It was.
I mean,
good times.
I'm just saying that would be the one team that I would.
I'd rather let Kansas.
Who do you most want to face?
The Jaguars.
Greggy?
Who was the other one?
The Titans.
You got the Jaguars, the Texans, or the Colts.
Well, that's the thing too. Is I think the Texans almost came back in that one. Even though you kind of called off the dogs, so to speak, they really there were a lot of moments in that game where it could have went either way until you really like. I don't know. It's like one of those situations where Houston's always a trap game to me for some reason.
Oh yeah.
And and I just go by that scenario. I'm always comfortable against the Jaguars, even though historically we've been on the wrong end of some of that. But not as bad as what the Steelers have been when they've been.
I mean,
but they've been bounced out of the playoffs by Blake Bortles.
Greggy, we went to a Jaguars game in the 0-16 season, didn't we? Wasn't that who they played? The Jaguars?
I can't even remember.
There was somebody like that. I can't remember who they played, but.
And then Baker Mayfield.
I mean, I can remember when Josh Gordon lit up the Jaguars for like 290 yards or something, 250 yards.
I think I was at that game.
Yeah?
Me and Tommy were at that game.
Yeah.
Dude,
When Josh Gordon set the record for like
Josh
most yards in a
Gordon.
game, and it was Whedon that was thrown to him, right? Because that's the game me and Tommy were screaming at Whedon from the Dawg Pound.
I mean, he had Brandon Whedon, Jason Campbell, and Brian Hoyer, I think, or somebody.
God, you suck!
I mean,
I think who was playing to start that game and they got injured? Wasn't it like Seneca Wallace or something like that? It was somebody terrible. Got hurt, and Whedon came back in, and I was like, God, not him!
I wonder what game it was where he got trapped under the flag.
that was his very first game.
I'm pretty sure
It was his very first
like
game. It was his first start as a Browns quarterback. Remember, he was like 28 years old making his debut, and they like drafted him in the first round. People were like, drafting a baseball player with the first round pick?
We've seen a lot of shit.
They drafted that 22nd pick is a curse. I'm telling you right now. Like every time they've ever drafted there, it's been a curse. There's been some really shitty players selected at 22 for the Browns over the years. I mean, think about it. Johnny Manziel, number 22. Yeah. Brandon Whedon was a number 22 pick. And that, like you said, when he got ran over by that flag, that was the very first game. He was just out there warming up. Next thing you know, whoop, right over top of him.
And I always kind of had an affinity for the Oklahoma Sooners. So him coming out of the gate being an Oklahoma State guy, I was always like, nope, don't like, I don't know. For some reason, like you have your Ohio State, Michigan people, and you're either Ohio State or Michigan. The same thing if you're like Oklahoma or you're Oklahoma State. It's like Oklahoma State would be, in our parlance, would be the Michigan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate Oklahoma State so bad. But probably not as much as what I did Brandon Whedon. For no reason.
For whatever reason, I have like an affinity for teams that wear orange. I don't know why. Orange is my favorite color, obviously. But
no, don't say you like Oklahoma State.
I don't like Oklahoma State, but I don't have anything against them. That's the thing. Like Oregon State, same thing. I don't like them, but when they play, I'm like, oh, I like that color. I'll watch this game. I don't know what BG, same thing. Like anytime a BG game's on, I'll watch it. I
like the Browns-esque BG orange.
Well, that's where the Browns got their colors from. You know that, right?
What?
That's
Really?
Paul Brown went to a BG game. He went to a BGSU practice. He loved the uniforms. He loved the colors, and that's why he adopted the brown and orange. It's even listed somewhere online. You can find it. Anything else you want to talk about for the Browns?
It's like you're itching with anticipation.
Yeah.
Because you're just kind of sitting here wondering, all right, when's the other foot going to drop? What is going to be written about this?
Like
How do you describe this season? I mean,
Like
I
you've
wouldn't call
said.
it abysmal. I wouldn't call it,
It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster. That's exactly what it's been. You've been up, you've been down, you've been up, you've been down, and it's been both. You've been riding high, and you have been the depths of the low. I mean, you think about it. You think about the darkest, it's always darkest before the dawn. That's exactly what it felt like when Nick Chubb went down. It was like, it was the darkest point in my, I couldn't even remember the last time I cried as a Browns fan. That brought tears to my eyes watching that. Like just watching him getting carted off the field. When they came back from commercial and they said, we can't show it. There's no way we can show the replay. And he was getting carted off the field. That's the low point as a Browns fan.
I was like,
for
what's
me.
wrong with you?
And then you think about when Deshaun Watson went down.
Like this? No, I'm just kidding.
You think about when Deshaun Watson went down, as a Browns fan, it was like, okay, here we go again. You were 7-3 at that point. You were 7-3 when they beat the number one team in the AFC, most people's Super Bowl favorite. The Browns beat them in a fourth quarter comeback. You were at the highest of high, and then Watson's season-ending surgery puts you in the lowest of lows within the same 48-hour period. So it's a roller coaster. That's the best way I can describe this season.
That was classic Browns fans day right there. Like, I can't believe we beat the Ravens at home, man. We came back, we did it. 24 hours later, quarterback's done for the year.
Yeah.
Well,
We didn't even know. He didn't go out of the game.
Right, like,
He never left the game.
Oh, no.
I tell
by
you
the
what,
way,
when
guys.
that Cleveland Browns helmet, that orange stripe pops up in my notifications, my heart just goes. I'm like, what is it going to be now? And that's what this season has been.
Well,
I almost dread seeing that notification. I mean, Greggy's so worked up, he's got steam coming out of his ears in there.
I mean, you think about it. I was thinking that maybe we might get some of these guys back, and now you're hearing things like, okay, Jed Wills. There was a slim hope that he might come back for the postseason. Nope, done for the season. He's out for the rest of the season. They declared him out for the season the end of December, right? Grant Delpit, slight hope that he might come back for the postseason. So I'm still holding on to hope there.
What did they say about Moore?
Elijah Moore, he's back. He's back in practice.
Oh, yeah. Well, what about the... I always hate when these damn... Okay, so we live in this, not so much powder puff, but this CTE post...
Yeah,
I
know where you're going with this.
Dr. Maroon world where, again, it's always hits to the head. And then you have like medical professionals who probably didn't even watch the damn game, who just have a bad opinion on football just because of, what science has, been able to produce with case after case. They talk about Moore coming back, and you're like, hey, he reported back to practice today. It's like, I just thought I read an article from a medical professional. Like, he should never play football again with the way he, recoiled off the surface. It's like,
well, and did you see his involuntary movements on the ground?
That's
where
what
he
it was.
like,
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that you're
like-
talking about, Tommy, is like all these terrible things happen and we witness them happen, and like what doctor is ever not gonna follow up watching that and go, I don't think he should ever play again. Like that's their go-to every time.
Every
Like,
time.
Or what you mean, like which doctor would be like, yeah, I think he should play.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
and
what I'm
what
saying. They're
doctor
not,
is what
nobody's
doctor's
ever
gonna
gonna not say
yeah,
that.
I think you should play football.
Yeah, that's what I'm
period.
saying.
Like
Like-
any.
It's like, yeah, we're in the era where it's like every single injury that you see now that because they're becoming more prominent, we got cameras, angles everywhere and stuff, and you see this stuff happening. Now, like, yeah, I don't think you should ever play again. It's like, yeah, I'm sure you've been saying that for the last 20 years about every time somebody gets hit on the football field. Nothing's changed.
Exactly. All right. Well, Browns at Bengals, Week 18. What's your prediction, Tommy? Let's go score predictions. Final prediction for the final game of the 2023, well now the 2024 regular season. What's your prediction? What do you think? What's gonna happen?
Bengals 17-14. You should never cut me.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that what Browning said?
Yeah.
I don't remember who he said it to. Whatever.
The Vikings.
Yeah.
He said it to the hard cam when they Cincinnati beat, who is it recently? Where you been? You don't follow your Bengals?
Oh no. I don't
Follow your Bengals.
Did they beat I thought they beat the Vikings. That's who they beat, wasn't it? When he went.
Yeah, he said, you should never cut me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere pop up on social media somewhere. I was like, come on, bro.
No, I mean, really, it's, I don't know. Both teams have kind of, I don't know.
So you say 17-14 Bengals. Okay. All right, Greggy, where you at?
All right. What's the status of like Cincinnati? Are they playing their starters?
I don't think they have any reason not to.
That's what I'm. That's
I mean,
where
you're playing at this point. Here's the thing. This is what every Browns fan needs to think about when they think about this game. If you think they have a chance to win this game, think about this. The Bengals, if they lose, are going to go 0-6 in the division. Do you think they want that?
No.
They're going to be playing for more than just trying to beat the Browns.
That's what I was
They're
asking
trying
for.
not to lose.
I'm like,
and
that's
here's the
pride
thing.
for them, right?
This is a chance. If the Bengals beat the Browns, it'll be the first time in 88 years in the NFL that a division has all four teams with winning records. First time in 88 years. And you end the year with all four teams with a winning record.
I just can't say that I feel like Cleveland's gonna be playing with a lot of give a shit.
And
know?
I think this is what you have in your back. This is your ace in the hole. You got Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski's what, like 5-1 against the Bengals, 6-1, 7. I mean, I don't think he's lost very many games against the Bengals. I know that. He's got Zach Taylor's number, whatever the hell that coach. He's got his number. They know that offense. They also know that defense. I think that's a big key for this Browns-Bengals matchup is Stefanski's offense matches up really well against that defense. So maybe there's a chance that they get out to a 14-0 lead or like a 17-7 lead, and they can just kind of coast from that point, maybe kind of wrap this up. But it's really going to come down to Driscoll. Is that guy going to come in and make mistakes? Is he going to turn the ball over? Or is he just going to come in and manage the game, hand the ball off, and you can hope that Pierre Strong Jr. has a big game?
I'll say
I'm just saying,
this.
Jerome Ford's probably not going to play.
With what we're bringing to the table on Sunday, and I'm not even saying this to be mean or to talk crap or anything, but if the Bengals do not beat us on Sunday, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Well,
They got a lot more to play for than we do, that's for sure.
Yeah, they should win that game. No, they should win
For
that
sure.
game.
and again, if and buts were candy and nuts, the world would be pretty sweet. I got a weird. Let's say the wizard was like Doctor Strange. He could control the multiverse. Somewhere out there right now in the multiverse, this Dawg Pound Pressbox is talking about a Cleveland Browns season in Week 18 with a healthy Chubb and a healthy Deshaun Watson in this same season scenario. Where would you be at? Where would we be at?
Number 1 seed.
Yeah.
What's the record right now?
I don't think you lose to the Rams and the Broncos with
I
Watson.
mean,
and
better than
Chubb.
what it is right now, and it's
Especially
already
with
good.
Chubb. Like Chubb, I think if you had Chubb, even without Watson, if
You
you,
think
had
they
Chubb,
would have the best record in the NFL?
I think they'd have the best record in the AFC for sure.
I
in the
do.
NFL?
I do. I hate to be like that guy who's drinking the
You
Kool-Aid
think
and
the
put it
Browns
on my
would have
lips.
lost
but
28-3 to the Ravens with Nick Chubb?
No.
I don't wanna
Remember
be-
the memory of the Chubb runs on the
think-
Raven when that showed up at the memory thing?
In the
Oh,
Seahawks game, that was like a last-minute loss that Jackson Smith and the Jigba passed down the sideline. Do you think they lose that game if Nick Chubb's playing?
No.
I don't think so.
Because we can manage those games. When you can run the ball,
Exactly.
oh my gosh, you just eat the clock, you handle the game.
I'm not saying you win every game because you're still going to lose a few games that you're not supposed to. They're probably going to lose. They'll probably still lose one of those games to the Ravens and Steelers.
The bottom line,
I think that Steelers game you win though. If Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, you win that
I was
damn
gonna say
game.
the bottom line there is
He was averaging 7 yards a carry.
is you have to be insane.
74 yards in one.
Bruh,
You'd have
10
to-
carries.
You have to be insane to not acknowledge that Nick Chubb alone changes the game.
Absolutely, he's a game
Yeah,
changer.
he's my
100%.
favorite. He's
Everything
my favorite
changes.
football player.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you got my
He's the heart and soul of that team
and
too.
then you got my second favorite player on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, I have never. This is
Yeah.
the
When's
best.
the
This
last
is
time?
the best era of being a Browns fan that I've ever.
Let me ask you.
My favorite players of all time
In all
are on the
seriousness,
same damn Browns team.
both of you guys.
Okay.
When is the last time your favorite player in the NFL was on the Browns? Like strictly like, man, this guy is my favorite because he just balls. He is so good at his position. Like that dude, he's my favorite player right now in the entire NFL. When's the last time you said that and that guy was on the Browns?
Josh Cribbs.
Man, it barely counts. So that's special teams. Yeah,
He was on special teams, but he was the best
Special
kick
teams.
returner in the NFL.
Yeah, I get that, but like that's just. I almost feel like nothing
And I mean,
against
you
him, but
could
I feel
say
like that's
Joe
a
Thomas
fluke.
was the best left tackle in the league for a long time.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
That's my go. To me,
He was the best left tackle in the league for 6 years.
Okay. How about like?
to me as a kid, it was like Montana, Rice,
Yeah, I was gonna say like a
Brett
positional
Favre,
player, like more. Like,
Reggie White, and then I'm gonna Steve McNair, Eddie George, Javon Curse.
Yeah. The freak.
yeah, and like
And then
basically
we talk
you're
about top.
you're
like,
putting Chubb and Garrett in the class with those of your favorites, and those are Browns on the same team at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
I am
insanity.
saying that.
Yeah, that's
all
insanity.
all in the same breath, because that's what, like, again, I've never really thought about it in the Brown sense of things. I really love Josh Gordon. Let's not get that twisted. I know he's had
yeah.
his issues, and
I don't
that
care.
potential never was saw. Like, God, that guy could
He
play
was
some
awesome.
football.
He was exciting to watch.
God, he could play football. God, he could play football. But Joe Thomas, like I said, Brett Favre, then probably Brett Favre, Eddie George, and then we go through that, then probably Joe Thomas from 2008 on
Yeah.
was my favorite football player.
Yeah.
And then now Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. And
Now here's a question for you: would you have paid as much attention or given as much credit due to Joe Thomas if he never played as a Brown? Would you even followed him enough to like know that he's the GOAT like he is?
that's a weird.
Because it's not like he's not great. It's just
I mean,
how
you-
often
you-
do you pay
you
attention
recognize-
to another offensive lineman on another team?
you
Well,
recognize
it's like,
other.
okay, Jonathan Ogden
Yeah.
was one
Yeah.
guy that I was like, that's
One of the best,
He's
yeah.
the best left tackle in the league during his time. Who was the guy in Seattle for a while? There was like, I can't remember what his name was, but he was like one of the best left tackles in the league for a long time. You recognize greatness at each position, but if it was a right tackle, I couldn't tell you. I don't give a shit about right tackles, but left tackles, they're like the blindside protector for most quarterbacks in the NFL. They're like the cornerstone that you build your offensive line around.
The guy that you can trust without even having to.
And it's,
second guess.
it's easy to identify, even just growing up playing football as an offensive lineman, to see somebody be held in such regard and be heralded as, one of the best offensive linemen of all time. And that's one of your guys, again, that's one of the reasons why he kind of fits in that class of the affinity. And then when I think about just great Cleveland Browns players, like you said, I'm living in the era and in the window, and we're talking Myles Garrett. He's in his, seventh season?
Yeah. 2017 first overall pick. So
Yeah.
yeah, seventh season.
It's just, I've loved every minute of it. It's just, there's always been some chicanery, some kind of just,
Boink.
what? There's just always been something
Ah.
that has
I love it
shrouded
when I
this
see
team.
people. I love it when I see people who say shit like, "He shouldn't even be playing in the league anymore. He should be kicked out of the league.
Oh my goodness.
He had violent assault on a football field. He should be kicked out of the league." And
I just recently saw that clip on some kind of countdown like a day or two ago, actually, and like I was
That
over
was one of the greatest moments of all time.
I was over there. I was just listening. Yeah, I was listening to like the broadcast announcers at that point in time, being like, "This is one of the like most ridiculous things I've seen in professional
I remember
sports." And I'm like,
just-
"Shut
Buck
up!"
had no idea what
I
to
just
do.
remember-
He was so speechless.
I just remember watching that live, and that was the Cavs 2016 NBA Finals to me. It was when he dunked that helmet right off of Jabroni's head, and he's like, "The hell with you!" I loved every second of it. And then, like I said,
We are spoiled as Browns fans, but think about this, all right? Think about this.
when
real
have you
quick.
ever said that? What?
Think about this, though, Tommy.
Spoiled as Browns fans.
Listen to me good. Every piece to this puzzle that's been put together by this front office and this coaching staff is the result of 1-31. You had to endure all of that pain to get to this point, to where now,
Bro, we've been putting up with this.
since 1-31, you haven't had one season where you've won less than 7 games.
We've been putting up with this pain since 1994.
Isn't it? Yeah, isn't it sad that like the 1-31 is like you feel like that's the most painful thing?
Like,
it's so painful that it takes away the pain of how much we still sucked outside of the season.
Seriously.
What do you think was more painful, watching this team go 1-31 or watching them move to Baltimore?
Watching him move to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, that was more painful. But as a Browns fan, since they've come back, has there been anything more painful than going through 1-31 with this team?
It sucked immensely, but at the same time, since we've just always sucked, it's just like
I
yeah,
think
nothing
about-
new. The record really didn't matter to me. We
I
weren't
think
winning
about
anything.
how close knit. Here's the
Man.
thing about our fan base compared to others. If you see another Browns fan on the street, there's not an ounce of animosity. You're like, hey, you, go Browns. And then you can pick up a conversation.
I haven't told you how many times I've got to go Browns out in public somewhere just for
for
having
sure.
something Browns
Yep.
driver license plate cover or
For
something like that.
So,
right.
like, I hate to get all gushy about it, but there are so many people that we've grown up with that have shared in our lives and have been a fan of this team that are no longer here to enjoy or get the chance to even see the Browns get this playoff opportunity to, finally, let's see if we can finally close, this window in your life even. Again, it's all just silly sports and whatnot, but if you're a fan of this team your whole life, you finally see this window where, again, it's not a fever dream. There's situations where, again, everything's falling into place at the right time, and you just keep wondering why the football gods are trying to push you out. So I do take offense to, like, get worked up about the Bengals and whatnot, because, like, what did you do? Like, you guys did exactly what the Browns were trying to do and found instant success. So of course I'm going to be pissed off and jealous because I watched year in and year out them draft a quarterback and just fall into abysmal piles of shit, and we continue the same cycle over and over and over again. And then we finally were so you hit the nail on the head. Out of 1-31 comes, hey, we got to draft this guy out of Texas A&M. You get Myles Garrett. You get a lot of these guys that are just.
Well, you got Myles Garrett in that draft. You got David Njoku in that draft.
Yeah, that's true. I was excited about that.
Both of those
Out of my
two
ear.
are key contributors to this team.
Yeah.
The very next year, you think about the guys they brought in. Obviously, Baker was one of them.
I
But
like Baker. I don't.
But you got Denzel, you got Nick Chubb, you got Sione Takitaki. You got a lot of
love
pieces
all
that
those
they've
too.
built this team around. And since then, they've done nothing but add to that talent.
That's even more so the reason why now is the time that we deserve this because I'm not kidding, man. Think about those guys. Like think about Myles and Njoku. How many years they have suffered now? Mm-hmm. They came to this team. They've given their heart and soul to Cleveland. They haven't really had the success.
Well, think about how many times they've swung for
paid
the
their-
fences since that happened.
They
Since they
paid
went
their
1-31.
Like paying your dues is a big time deal, man. Like they really have. Like if they go to the Super Bowl and they win the Super Bowl, they earned it. They went through the hard times to get it.
Everybody wants to give the Browns a hard time because of this Watson trade, all right? And they say, oh, it's the worst trade in the NFL history. Well, think about how many times this team has swung for the fences since they've come back, all right? And especially since 1-31. You talk about the OBJ trade, what they gave up to get OBJ. I mean, didn't they have the 13th overall pick in that draft that year? And then they gave up another second rounder the next year. They gave up a lot of assets. They paid him a lot of money to come in and be the savior for that team, and he never panned out. They paid Jarvis Landry like $75 million to come be the guy for that team. He helped establish the culture, but he only lasted about 3 years with the way his style of play and the way he was an Iron Man kind of player. Those guys break down eventually, you know? And you think about every time that they've tried to make a move, they've tried to swing for the fences. Deshaun Watson was an example, and everybody wants to fault them for that. But think about what happened when that situation went down. The Browns were coming off a season where Baker Mayfield ended that season with 2 straight absolute duds of a game. The Green Bay game.
God, that was
Think
terrible.
about that game for just a second, all right? As Browns fans, let's go back to that moment.
Were we
Everybody
at
wants to
that
talk
game or
about
was that the
Baker.
Raiders?
Everybody wants to talk about Baker and having all this regret for having him going, oh, look what he's doing in Tampa, leading the team to the playoffs. There was no way they could bring that dude back to that locker room. And I'll tell you why.
No, he bombed in that game in Green Bay.
That Green Bay game, he was sick. He had COVID all week. You remember this, okay? He was sick all week, and then he got cleared that Saturday night and flew to Green Bay to play that game in Green Bay Sunday, and then ended up throwing 4 picks in that Green Bay game. When they were still in playoff contention, they still had a chance to make the playoffs. That loss pretty much eliminated them from the playoffs.
Yeah,
all
because
right?
they had the chance at when they played Oakland.
Exactly.
And then they shit the bet against Oakland before that.
Kicked the field goal in my face.
Yep.
So, and then the rumor that came out after that week was Baker didn't think he was going to play in that game. Baker didn't think he was going to get cleared to play. So he spent the whole week playing Xbox. His Xbox Live account was live for an average of 9 hours a day during that entire week. So what do you think he was doing? He was Kyler Murraying it up.
I mean-
and that's why he threw 4 picks against the Packers, because he didn't think he was going to play.
Yeah, and here's the thing: could you fault the guy if you were busting your hump all the time playing professional sports, and they're like, "Hey, here's a surprise week off. Play video games too."
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm not the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not the number 1 overall pick.
I'm just saying,
I
like,
would do that for sure.
The dude for sure didn't think he was playing. Like,
But like you expect more from that quarterback. And then the very next week after that, all right, he goes from the Green Bay game, and then you go to the Pittsburgh game. What happened in that Pittsburgh game? 9 passes batted down at the line.
phone book.
TJ Watt sacked him like 8 times. I mean, they sacked him 9 times in that game, I think.
Yeah.
TJ Watt had 3 sacks. Remember him bullying Baker during the game, calling him like little boy? I mean, like, there was no bringing him back. After that game, he sat at the podium and said, I don't know if I can play next week. I need to sit down with my agent and my people and figure out if we are going to put me at risk next week. And he never ended up playing that last game of the year that year. There was no bringing him back. So the Browns had to do something. They had to do something that offseason. That was the same year he ran OBJ out of town. That was the same year. All of that went down. There was so much turmoil on that team that locker room was split down the middle. Half of them liked Baker, half of them couldn't stand him. And that you can't bring him back into a locker room like that. If you're trying to bring back that team and that core, what's the easiest solution? Cut the tumor out.
It's
you
just,
know?
yeah, it's just Baker is who Baker is, but that
He's grown
personality.
a lot. He's matured since then.
I was gonna
And
say
I'm
that
I wouldn't go
personality-
as far as
that
a
person-
cancer. I would say just cut bait when you're not fitting in.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I was
You know
gonna say
what I
his
mean?
personality just matches that of you have to win.
Because look,
Exactly.
he's already been through 2 different franchises just to find that iota of success that he.
Well, and he needed
Yeah,
a
and
Pro
I'm-
Bowl offensive line and
I'm
2 Pro
happy.
Bowl receivers to accomplish what he's done.
I mean, and I'm happy for him, dude. Like,
Will you
be happy.
You are just worked up, pal.
I'm just saying, like, I'm so tired of Baker being, or I'm so tired of the Browns. Deshaun Watson, they blew all them draft picks and they blew all that money and they paid him all this money. You know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. In the situation that they were in, they went and they flirted with the girl, with Deshaun Watson. They decided, okay, Deshaun said he didn't want to play for us. Deshaun said he didn't want to play in Cleveland. So they went back to Baker and they're like, all right, Baker, well, we'll try to fix this. And Baker's like, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. I'm not playing for this team no more. You can trade me. I'm done. So
God,
now what?
It feels like a century ago.
Now what?
Just
For real
happened.
though, doesn't it feel like it happened such a long time ago?
I'm just saying, like, all this stuff went down and people want to forget about it because he's doing good now. It's like, dude, we need to go back and revisit that situation. Remember why we are in the situation we're in. It's because that dude can't be trusted. He can't be trusted to be the face of a franchise. For the situation that he's in now, they weren't tasking him with being the face.
But you can trust the guy that left you holding your putt at the altar.
Well, I will say this. They had no other choice. At that time, who were they going to go after? Who was the alternative
Who
at
was
that
holding
time?
put?
Other than, obviously, everybody's like, oh, you could have went and got Joe Flacco. Come on, stop. At that time, he was washed up, burnout from Denver. They picked him up as a practice squad player, and we are so lucky that he has contributed the way he has this year. But to say that they could have had him over Watson at that time, you got to think, Deshaun Watson, there were 7 teams vying to get him. We were one of 7 teams, but there were 7 teams that were trying to acquire him.
Uncle Jimmy backed the Brinks truck up to him. Have some of this Tennessee oil.
Yeah, people act like they could see into the future and like that Flacco had this resume ready for us, and we're like, no, not you. We know what Watson said.
I'm just saying, like, I don't fault the Browns for doing what they did. And I'm not ready to give up on Deshaun Watson yet because I still remember the last time that dude suited up for an entire full season, he led the NFL in passing yards. So I just want to see if he could ever get back to that form again.
Oh, I think he
was getting close.
Yeah,
you look at that Titans game this year. You look at the Ravens game this year. Now, I will say the beginning of the Ravens game, he looked like shit. But the last vision we have of Deshaun Watson, he went 14-14 and won the game in Baltimore.
Yeah,
that's all you're looking for as a Browns fan. You want that. So
I can't tell you if I'm gonna next season for sure. I know this year I was averaging probably 1 per game of $232 million for this.
everybody does that every game. Whenever he makes one mistake,
Yeah,
he throws one pick, and everybody, oh, they're $230 million.
Could you
they
imagine-
spent $230 million on that?
remember when Joe Flacco threw 3 picks the other week, and I was just
You just tore him apart.
I shit on him so bad.
You
And
were throwing in the towel,
Dude,
He's
you were
like, "Get outta
ready to
here."
just. You were ready to throw him to the boneyard, man.
I was wanting to come like book a flight and go after his ass and just be like, dude, you don't understand what was happening. And then he came back and, again, got in everyone's good grace. It's just like you talked about. You kind of tiptoed back, or like you didn't go full in, but you were like, this guy was sitting on his couch. He was a he's talking about exactly what Joe Flacco really, the options that were there and what really on paper and what you're really seeing was available to you at that time, as you talked about.
They swung for the fences.
And again,
that's the first time in my fandom as a Browns fan that they actually said, we're going all in. We're going to take these chips. We're going to push them all to the center of the table. When, as a Browns fan, you can say whatever you want to say about the results of the trade, about giving up the picks, about the money they had to pay him, but when have you ever seen the Browns make that kind of a move where they're like taking all these chips and pushing them into the table? The last time as a Browns fan I remember them doing that is when Art Modell had to borrow $1 million so they could sign Andre Rison. That's the last time I remember the Browns saying, we're all in, we're trying to win a Super Bowl.
What a loser!
you would. We get
can't
Andre
afford the player I
Rison's name once every decade, and you pour it out. That pour it out when we're on the cusp of our magic ride. You're like, okay.
So,
Man, think about how terrifying it is to play quarterback in Cleveland. Like, I know that's an understatement already, but like, if you're Joe Flacco and you come here and you don't do good,
he had no pressure though.
but bro, everybody already hates you because you're Joe Flacco.
Yeah, but
If you come here and you bomb and you cost us a winning season in playoffs, like, you might as well make sure you never
I
see
think
me.
he's more worried about getting 500,000.
I heard a
incentive
rumor
and-
that he was a planted seed by the Baltimore front office, and that he's only meant to get them to the playoffs.
Good
and then
Lord, I would murder that
and
man.
he's gonna shit down his leg once he gets into the playoffs.
I would find out where
For
he's
Baltimore?
going. I would find out where he's going after the game, and I would be there.
Who?
Flacco.
If
he
I
was
was
a-
in New Jersey.
If he was a planted seed for the Baltimore Ravens, and this is all play.
You know the NFL would do that.
Now, here's the thing though. What is the better storyline in the NFL?
What?
In the NFL, is there a better storyline that can be written from this season than the Browns going to or winning the Super Bowl?
No, because
at least going to the Super Bowl.
really the circulating
going to
the circulating stories and the storylines going into it would be Lamar Jackson basically telling everybody to eat shit, haha, in your face. Then the league don't want that to be the.
Oh no, they don't want that.
They don't want that to be the headline.
Well,
they also don't want it to be, especially with the recent antics, bitchy Patrick Mahomes being like, every game they were holding, they were off sides. Shit like that, where you're painting a guy in a. Again, I love Patrick Mahomes, one of my favorite players right now in the league too. But like the way he's painted, or the way that, but then again, it's the way you carry yourself. The way that this Chiefs team has reacted in the face of adversity doesn't make me want to root for them. Doesn't make me care if they make a postseason run. Same thing with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not trying to be brown like a hater on them. I'm looking at it from an outside perspective, from what I've seen that franchise do, the way that they told their quarterback, somebody they should believe in, to go ahead and date. We'll be here. Daddy will be home waiting for you. And then when she come home after that, and you basically are forced to pay to.
And now you know what you're worth, don't you?
Yeah.
Now you know what you're worth, don't you? Now come on, crawling back.
Yeah, and
we'll give you what we said we were gonna give you.
God, and so like I said, Lamar Jackson has the chance to go ahead and turn that script into his favor, and I don't think that's.
But he also doesn't even need to win the Super Bowl to do that.
Yes, he does. He promised it.
I think,
promised
honestly,
it on draft day.
The way the Ravens have played this year to this point, if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's a bust for this team. Like, honestly,
you're telling me that if they don't win the Super Bowl this season, Lamar Jackson hasn't proved anybody wrong at all?
Absolutely. I don't think. Here's the thing. Maybe if they make it to the AFC Championship game and they lose in a nail biter and he played his ass off and he played a great game and you can't fault Lamar for it. But if he goes out there and he has a game
that's already happened,
where it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like if he goes out there and throws for less than 200 yards, throws a couple picks, only throws one touchdown, is limited in the run game, and they lose, everybody's going to blame Lamar. Absolutely.
The knock on Lamar has been
even if they win one game,
can't win the big one. Can't get out of the divisional route.
Yep.
And that's been his biggest knock. That's why they didn't want to pay the money.
Yep.
So even if he plays immaculately through the playoffs and they can't win the Super Bowl, it still has done nothing.
Now, if they make it to the Super Bowl, he's redeemed himself.
But and he's already been paid. So I mean, really, it's like
I'm just asking because I'm comparing storylines of like, what's a better story, the Browns going to winning or Lamar winning because I told you so.
That's what I'm saying. Though, when you look at all the other storylines in the NFL, all right, looking at the teams that are qualifying for the playoffs, I mean, what would the NFL want? They want the Browns versus the Lions in the Super Bowl.
You guys do realize
right now.
Listen.
The NFL wants that.
You realize that I want that too, right?
Are you kidding me? The Browns are one of the top teams for viewership as far as ratings in the NFL.
Well, the reason why they rip into our organization so much is because this is a Cleveland market trying to make big money market moves. Like we talk about how the New York teams have been trying to do it. We made the move with Deshaun Watson, and everyone was like, "Why is Cleveland doing this?" And it's like because we have things to achieve. We're in the land where football was born.
I mean, that's going to take me to my next point. Exactly that I was going to say is like, I don't know about you guys, but I fully, and I mean this 1,000%, we cannot just get to the Super Bowl. We have to win. If we get there, we have to win. I don't care if it's against the Lions. Congratulations. I'm glad you guys made it. You can't lose the Super Bowl.
Well, Greg, listen, the last time that both the Lions and the Browns had at least 10 wins in the same season, they met in the NFL championship.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
So, this is both icky questions, but we'll try to. Well, I'll depend on Nate to lighten it up afterwards. Would you rather AFC Championship game loss to the Ravens or Super Bowl loss?
Nah. I could take a Super Bowl loss. I don't.
Yeah, Super Bowl loss.
If you,
it's extremely.
Can you imagine the offseason, going through the offseason, knowing you lost to the Ravens in the AFC Championship, and everybody would give the Browns their flowers and say, "Oh well, he made it so far. He made it to the AFC Championship."
Well,
Yeah,
think of
that
the
means
hate.
Given everything they
Doesn't
went
mean
through
shit,
and all
yeah.
the
Think
obstacles
of
that they had to
the
overcome.
resentment that people a generation ago still hold towards the Denver Broncos. Or that if this were a scenario that played out against a division rival and the Ravens specifically, the problem with all this is, again, the Browns either need to just get their asses bounced in the first round and end this fever dream and wake us up, or because the way it's written out, the way it's playing out, the Ravens are the team to beat. The Ravens is what everybody needs to topple. The Ravens damn near are almost unstoppable, it seems, at this point.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me sick to my stomach, is knowing that the path. What if the Ravens didn't make the playoffs this year? My attitude, my whole demeanor about this whole playoff run, even just in the opening, in the wild card round, in the divisional, even in the AFC Championship, all of that would be completely night and day if the Ravens were in the mix. Because if the Browns don't do it, the Ravens are.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. If the Browns don't do it, the Ravens will.
So you're saying it's between the Browns and the Ravens for the AFC?
God, I want to say so.
I mean, think about that. When you just boiled that down to, all right, it's between the Browns and the Ravens for the AFC.
But why? Tell me what team, besides the Chiefs, maybe your argument.
The Chiefs have the experience.
What other AFC team? What other AFC teams in that picture do you think?
I think
can
Buffalo
do it?
is dangerous. I really do.
I think Buffalo's so shitty.
I just think with their run game coming on the way it has.
That's true.
Now, last week they looked like dog shit. They barely won that game. They had no business winning that game. They probably shouldn't have won that game. But the way they played the week before, if that team shows up in the playoffs, nobody wants to play them. Nobody wants to play that team. They have one of the best secondaries in the league. I mean, you could say probably second best to the Browns.
There you go. There you go.
I'm just saying,
man.
the Browns have the best secondary in the league. If Delpit's healthy and Thornhill's healthy, you got Emerson, you got Ward, and you got Newsome. Those five, that's the best secondary in the league. Now you got JOK out there prowling around in the secondary. I mean,
I just want to go to bed.
So, Tommy, back to your question on about like which game you'd want to lose. I look at it this way as like
that's the most Browns question ever.
Like,
what game would you rather lose?
Well, I look at it this way as like there's so much more to losing to the Ravens other than just he lost to the Ravens, because okay, let's say you get to the Super Bowl and you would lose in the Super Bowl, right? You've still knocked some chips off of the shoulder of you never made it to the dance, gone. You never won an AFC championship, gone.
And you beat the Ravens.
Yeah, but if you lose to the Ravens, you're back at you didn't do shit.
Yeah.
the Ravens are better.
So obviously the Super Bowl loss is
really
like
changes.
Ravens are a better franchise.
yeah, exactly.
They're better. They're
The
run
Super
better.
Bowl loss, you can still, with a loss, knock a couple of chips off the old shoulder there.
Yeah, but do you really feel that much different about the Bengals since they went to the Super Bowl?
No, but it would
Yeah.
still be nice
I do.
as a team.
I do.
What do you feel?
Okay,
I'm embarrassed to be
as a
to
Browns
say.
fan, we know that we can beat them, but
They got the
as
accolades.
a team in the NFL, they're a contender. If they've got everybody healthy, that's a contending. I mean, they got a damn good team.
Oh, no one's overlooking
And tell me that it doesn't hurt when somebody says, "You guys never even made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what sucks.
Never even made it to the Super
yeah,
Bowl.
yeah.
You weren't even at WrestleMania."
Well, what's crazy is if the Browns and the Lions make it, that'd be two of the remaining. I think there's only
The
5
Lions.
teams.
Yeah.
5 teams in the
If
NFL
this
who've never
dream
made
isn't
it.
Yep, I think
stupid
so.
enough. We're sitting here talking about the Browns and the Lions. in
Yeah,
my
why are we
lifetime.
talking about it though?
The Browns? Because it can happen.
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
because this
Shut
season
the
is
hell up.
insane.
Hey,
The
Talking
season
about
is
this
we're in the
insane.
upside
fairy
down,
tale
Tommy.
ass bizarro world.
We are in the upside down now.
I say, give me the Lions and Browns Super Bowl.
Shut
And,
up.
and thanks a lot, Lions. You had a great season, but you
No.
get second place this year, dog.
Give me Browns Lions Super Bowl. Oh, in Vegas?
Who do you want to see?
In Vegas?
Who do you want to see? Is that where you guys pick dream Super Bowl is?
Oh yeah, obviously
Yeah.
for sure, 100%.
And this year,
Because the
this year in
Lions
the
are my
NFC,
NFC team.
Yeah.
I got two teams, the Browns and the Lions. Those are my
okay,
two teams.
don't
God,
get me
that's so
wrong.
hard
Hold
to say, too.
on.
Because the Lions are kind of my NFC, too.
don't get me
they're the
wrong.
NFC Browns.
Yeah.
My second favorite team is the Niners. Don't get me wrong, but the Niners have had their flowers. How many years, bro?
That's exactly what I was going to
Let
say.
the Lions have it. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of, but for some reason, too, though, it's like, I like Browns Cowboys.
I will tell you this. I'll tell you this right now. If the
Cowboys
Browns
are looking good.
You're
right
talking
now,
about
man.
probably the most
They
watched
look
game of all time.
If the
Of all
Browns-
time.
happened.
That'd be the
Without-
two
without
biggest football markets, Ohio and Texas.
Yeah, like that would probably be the most watched game that ever happened in the history of anything that ever could air.
Yeah, you talk about breaking records for viewers.
Yeah,
That'd be the craziest ratings you've ever seen.
but that's
I can't wait.
Reason,
I can't wait to see the ratings of this AFC Championship game.
Woo!
What's the game?
You know damn well.
Browns, Ravens.
Baby.
Don't even
The
talk.
ratings are gonna be through the
You guys are
roof.
so damn high.
Through the roof.
Come on, make it happen.
Oh
Speak
my
it into
God.
existence. That's what we got to do. We just got to keep speaking this into
I mean,
existence.
it may sound like some hippy dippy BS, but I believe it. Speaking into existence, it happens, man.
Speaking into existence. All right, we are like almost going on 2 hours worth of podcast here. So, what are we doing here, guys? Can we wrap this up anytime soon, or are we just going to keep talking about Browns all night?
it's not my
Because this
fault.
is something we could sit here and talk about this team
It is not my
all
fault.
night because we've waited so long to talk about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you've been chomping at the bit. You're like, there's so much.
Because-
you understand? I've been waiting for this for so long.
Because you rewind the clocks back just a year ago. If you were sitting here in the studio and you're like, "Hey, could you imagine if the Browns and the Lions played each other in the Super Bowl?" I'd be like, "Greggy, shut up and make some graphics.
You get laughed out of the
Get your
studio.
ass back to work.
Laughed out of the studio.
Yeah, get out of here." And now here we are. We're talking about, we're talking about playoffs.
Look at us.
Playoffs.
Look
No,
at
not
us.
that.
I love.
We're talking.
Who would have thought?
My favorite
We're
thing.
talking
me.
about scenarios
Not
where
me.
it's.
I mean,
We're talking about scenarios where it's a world where it could be Ravens, Browns, AFC Championship for the opportunity to go play in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you talk about
Guys.
you can't write things any better.
when we went to the Hall of Fame, isn't that what we talked about? Isn't that what we talked about? When we went to the Hall of Fame for the Hall of Fame game, we were there for the first NFL festivities of the year, fellas.
I know for an absolute fact that after the
If
first
they
game,
make it to the Super Bowl, we got to release all of that footage. We got to put something together for that.
I know for a fact, just outside of that, after the first game of the season this year, you said Browns Lions Super Bowl.
yeah.
100%. And we're like, what? And he's like,
After
I'm
the
telling you.
first game, after the Browns beat the Bengals,
And the
remember
Lions
the Lions beat the Chiefs?
Yeah, you were like, bro, you were sold.
I
on week
said it
one.
right then. I'm like, I'm going to speak this into existence.
Like I said, anybody that's listening to this or watching this is just like, you guys, shut the hell up. You guys are smoking the opium.
Well, I mean, it's legal now, so
I
we're
can't
good.
wait until we win the Super Bowl, and then we can go back and be like, who was right?
Huh?
This guy?
Why? I would just probably retire from everything that was sports related.
That guy was right.
That guy?
Maybe
That
that
guy?
guy.
Broadcasting football
What
games,
these guys?
basketball games,
This guy
baseball
right?
games. I'd be done.
there?
Just done. Why would I never need to watch the NFL again? I'm dead serious. I would never need to watch
The
it again.
fulfillment you would get.
Yeah, I was like,
And now,
why?
Greggy and I were talking about this earlier.
Oh
Okay. So Jim Schwartz is getting some run. Obviously, everybody's talking about Jim Schwartz and how, if the Browns are successful in the playoffs,
still
he's a
looking to be a
head
head
coaching
coach.
candidate. I don't want that. I want him to stay. And Greggy's like, well, if he won a Super Bowl, it'd be okay because he won a Super Bowl and we'd be okay with that. I'd be like, no, I want one more. I want more. I want another one. And Greggy's like, can you imagine if Jim Schwartz was here right now listening to us talk about this? Saying, no, one's not good enough. I want
What's
another
not good
one.
enough? Are you kidding me right now?
We haven't even got one yet.
We haven't even got out of the wild card.
Nothing.
And we're just we're sitting here talking about
Look
we're
at us.
riding the back of a riding the back of a fourth quarterback of the season.
Now,
How crazy is it though that we're only right in the wild card because we're in the same division as the team with the best record in the AFC completely? Like we just so happen to be in the same division with the other best team, Everybody else was like, "Oh, we lost a bunch of games, but we can probably still make it."
I feel like the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But like, yeah, it's just so ridiculous. Like, I mean, this is a classic Browns thing to happen, though, that you have to have an incredible record just to make the wild card.
Yeah. You have.
I knew going into this season it was going to take at least 10 games.
I said that you had to split. You had to at least split one with everybody to
and they did.
get
They
a
split
chance.
one with everybody. And I mean,
Even get a
you got a
chance.
chance to go 4-2 in the division on Sunday. You got a chance to get 12 wins for the first time since the 80s.
Will you stop?
Hold on, Tommy. I forgot to bring this up. Me and Nate were talking about this. Nate's got the
Yeah.
Browns calendar here.
Let's go.
So I was looking at this the other day,
I like this.
going through the dates and stuff, and I just happened to stop on my birthday, and I looked at the fact of my birthday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the team of destiny.
Unusually large Browns fan born on this day.
Yeah, it's right here.
The Cleveland baby.
In 1985, when an unusually large Browns fan was born. No, but it says here, on this date, in 1954, the Browns thrashed the visiting Lions 56-10 in the NFL championship game. Oh, destiny or what? Browns-Lions championship game on my birthday. Team Destiny,
What do
baby.
you think?
It's happening this year. Browns-Lions.
So what do we think, guys? What do we think?
Do we fly to Vegas for
Oh,
the festivities?
come
For
on.
at least to hang out?
And here's the thing. If they win the AFC Championship game, you got 2 weeks to get there. I might even drive. Like, I'd take the whole 2 weeks off, just
Hoosmobile?
drive. Sorry, folks. Any basketball broadcasts during that 2-week period, if they win, if they go to the Super Bowl, well, those broadcasts are going to have to be rescheduled. We're going to figure something else out. I'm just telling you right now. I'm warning all of our sponsors, everybody out there, all the fans. We do have some games scheduled for the end of the year, but I mean, all games are subject to change.
Come on, Browns. Like, Browns need to win so we can get our Super Hoos t-shirts made, too.
I mean,
With the old Lombardi trophy on them says Super Hoos instead of Super Bowl.
from Canton to Vegas.
From Canton to Vegas.
Oh, in
you
the
just
same
coined
year.
it.
I'm just saying, from Canton to Vegas, baby.
And I just forgot that the Browns started the whole season with the Hall of Fame game.
From Canton to Vegas.
Yeah.
Start and end it. Start and end it. Start and end it.
Where football was born.
This is so good.
They bring it back.
This is so good. I love this.
Yeah. In the state where the game was born, the Cleveland Browns are able to take the Lombardi back to the land and solidify themselves in the history books as Super Bowl champions.
Cleveland is the city of champions once again.
Oh, no. And it's all
the video-
dedicated to the memory of the great one, Jim Brown.
Oh my God! I fucking remember that.
No,
Jim
extra
Brown's
motivation.
won. But think about this. The last Browns quarterback to win an NFL
wanna hear
championship
anymore.
just died. Frank Ryan.
Yeah, I did see that. I did
Destiny.
see that.
You
Destiny.
can't tell me it's not written
Destiny.
in the stars. It's destiny at this point.
We need the ghost of Jim Brown to stick his cane up over Justin Tucker's field goal.
Well, he already knocked that interception. Or he
Yeah,
already
I
knocked
did
that
see
one out
that.
of Mooney's hands.
Good
That Hail
Lord.
Mary hit
Oh
Mooney
my
right in the
God,
chest.
that's what that
and Jim
was.
Brown says, "Not today, young man."
Not today, youngster. God. Like I said, I've loved this season. It's one of those things where, again, if we get to the wild card and, put this old dog out of its misery, I'll be, okay, let's get ready for next season, see what happens, see where the chips may fall. But,
First things first.
gosh.
Got to take care of business. So, this week, got the Bengals. Got to take care of business. I feel like, Greggy, what was your prediction on that one? Because Tommy said 17-14 Bengals. What do you got on?
I said that if the Bengals don't win, it's embarrassing.
Okay. So,
So I don't know.
I'm gonna say-
I don't know what the final score will be, but they better damn win, or it's embarrassing.
I'm
for
going to
them.
say Browns 21-17.
I really do think, I feel like the Browns,
21-17.
for some reason, I almost feel like the Browns almost easily win that game.
Pierre Strong Jr., 100 yards. Watch. It's going to happen. Pick him up in your fantasy lineup. Put him in your starting lineup right now. If you're still in fantasy and you're in championship mode,
Oh,
pick up Pierre Strong.
Like you did with Amari Cooper.
Hey, I mean, I left him on
weeks
my
ago.
bench. Like an
Yeah, when
idiot.
he had the 200.
51 points on my bench. Luckily, I still won somehow. I don't know how, but
I don't know. You better win this week, though.
yeah. I better.
You got a nice prize sitting over there. You need to.
Hey, can we bring that on the show? Let's show that baby off. I'm gonna go grab that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, grab that.
I'll grab it.
Greggy's got it. Let's take a look at this because this is what Ryan and I are vying for right now. So last week of the fantasy football for Heart of Ohio Sports, our championship game, the commissioner forgot to set up the playoffs in the proper format, so it ended up being the ESPN traditional format of, 4 teams make the playoffs, and each team or each game is a 2-week game. So now we're down to the championship game is between myself and Ryan Hinkey, and this is what it's all for right here.
A fantasy belt.
Look at that, baby.
That's pretty
Look at it. I mean, just look at that. It is beautiful. And this is a real legitimate championship belt, baby. I mean, this is like about as legit as they get.
You know what I think the Heart of Ohio Sports bank account needs to make room for?
Uh-oh.
When the Browns win
To wrap Greggy's bike?
When the Browns win the Super Bowl and Hunter Hearst Helmsley sends Jimmy Haslam and Kevin Stefanski the WWE Championship Browns with the Brown side plates.
We have to have it. It's got to be in the
There's
studio.
no question.
We'd have to get the replica for sure.
There's no question.
So this is what's on the line this weekend between myself and Ryan Hinkey for the Heart of Ohio Sports Fantasy Football Championship.
When does Zach's Predictions Championship come in?
I think we got an IOU trophy for that, so I'll have to hit him up later when we figure out what we're going to do for that.
Week 18 against
Week
the
18.
Bengals, I really thought at the beginning of the season everything was going to hinge on this week. And look at it now. It's like we're sitting starters against a burrowless Bengals squad.
If you'd have told
who's kind of
me-
on the outside.
If I'd have told you that in Week 18, one of these teams was going to be sitting their starters in anticipation for the playoffs, would you believe me if it was the Browns?
Was Nick Chubb injured yet?
I said after Week 2. So after Week 2, after Nick Chubb got hurt,
Yeah, I'd probably go with the Bengals.
Yeah, absolutely. After Nick Chubb got hurt, I thought we were
that week that
Creek.
Nick Chubb got hurt, okay, the Titans game was a big game. It restored a lot of faith for Browns fans
That
after
was a
that.
tasty game.
But before that, it was so doom and gloom that whole week. My God, you think about where you were as a Browns fan and the mindset that you were in. Nobody thought we were going to be in this situation. Nobody thought we'd be at this point in the season. And nobody thought in a million years that if one of these teams was going to be resting starters in this game, it was going to be the Browns. Nobody did. So, hey, enjoy it. Listen to me. Enjoy it, Browns fans. I'm serious. Because you can't think about what if at this point. You're here. You're in it. You got there. Now, what could happen? What's so funny?
I don't even want to repeat what he said, so let's just go ahead and...
Are we wrapping it up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up before Greggy gets canceled.
We got Cat Williams in there.
Cedric the Entertainer, he never made a joke in the last 20 years with his stand-up special on Netflix.
Him and Tyler Perry can't play men. They have to play women. That's what they were.
Get out of here. You just keep going.
All right, that's it. That's going to do it for us. Week 18, Browns versus Bengals. Who you got? Drop it in the comments. That's it. This has been the Dawg Pound Pressbox here on Heart of Ohio Sports. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
What's up, Cleveland? How about them brownies, huh?